It is becoming increasingly harder by the day to sell on Amazon. And really what's happening are more and more brands are not willing to let other people sell their products. So this leaves sellers with having a really hard time getting approval to list products. For me personally, I just listed something last month that I was ungated in. The brand looked safe, so I purchased a large order, and lo and behold, they came to me and said, "You're not authorized to sell our products." So it seems like it's coming to a point where we're just going to have to reach out to brands directly and get their permission to sell their products. But on the contrary of that, we can also start our own brands. And if we're really thinking a lot of money and long-term success on Amazon, that's really the shift that you should be looking into going. And that's what this video is all about. I have a friend who came into selling on Amazon doing what a lot of people do, just doing arbitrage and wholesale and reselling products. As you're going to learn, that friend almost got his account completely suspended, and he decided, I have to change something here because this is not working. And what he did was he decided to build a brand. He found a niche. He found something where customers want these products. There's not a lot of competition. And then he went on to get his trademark, everything that he needed, his manufacturers, and to build his brand from the bottom up. This is the first time he's ever tried to launch a brand, and he is extremely successful with this brand. So I have him here with us today so that he can talk to you guys and discuss more what it's like to build your own brand on Amazon and really what the benefits are and how it changed his business completely. But first, I'm Cassandra, and right here on this Profit Guru channel, I am here every single week to tell you guys how to sell on Amazon and help you to scale those businesses. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you never miss one of our valuable videos. Plus, only about 30% of the people watching my videos actually subscribes to the channel. So if we could get those numbers up a little higher, it would mean so much to me. Without further ado, let me introduce you to my friend, Doug. All right, so let's jump right into it. Tell us, how did you first find out about the concept of selling on Amazon?
Yeah, so I first found out about selling on Amazon through YouTube, just the standard YouTube scroll of the day. Arbitrage video came up, it piqued my interest, and it seemed like something I could do.
It just came up randomly? You weren't even searching it or anything? It just came up as like a suggested video?
Yeah, I wasn't searching for any side hustle business, nothing. I wasn't selling on eBay or anything like that. It just popped up on my feed and it piqued my curiosity, and I clicked, and the rest is history.
That's crazy, because usually like the algorithms tailor your feeds to what you've been searching, or I even think talking about. Sometimes I'll talk about something and then it'll show up like as an ad on my Facebook. So I feel like the universe just knew like this was destined for you, and it came up. It was wild. Yep. So talk to us about which selling model, after finding out about it in that crazy way, did you first discover and start selling with? Because I know you switched over to building your own brand, but when I first heard about selling on Amazon, I thought that was the only way to private label. But it turns out it's not. So where did you first start when you wanted to get going?
Yeah, so I first started selling the traditional Amazon arbitrage. I remember my first time going to Target and finding products after watching a YouTube video on how to find products the old-fashioned way by scanning items and then seeing how much they were selling for on Amazon, and investing my first $100 at a Target. I was scared that I was throwing away money. That was it. And then I remember the very first sale about a month later, like, man, somebody actually bought this thing that I had in my hand. I even remember putting, before I even had sticky labels, taking regular old Scotch tape, cut out pieces of paper to put the Amazon labels on the products. So I really started rather raw, just selling a couple products a month.
It's funny you say that, starting raw. Like, I feel like we have to improvise sometimes. And one of the last shipments that I sent out, FBA, I had to do that exact same thing. Like, my label printer broke and I had to print them and cut them out and tape them across the barcode. Man, it took forever. Do you remember your first FBA product that you sold? Because I still do, like the first one that sold.
I think I more remember the first thing that made me good money. These digital scales that I found at Target that I ended up
Oh.
buying 5 or 6 of them. And then I found them on a different company. I don't remember if it was some home goods store or something. I ended up finding a better deal. And then I started selling those a lot. And that was exciting.
It's almost like addicting. Like once you find something that sells good, because it's arbitrage, if it's not something that you can keep getting and replenishing, like that's gone. You want to fulfill the high again and see if you can find something else even better next time. It's almost like a game, like a competition with yourself.
Yeah. And because once you start and you see how it works and you figure it out your first shipment, when you see the thing that actually starts making money, you just get super excited, if you can repeat the process, because that's what this game isn't just finding one-offs. It's where can you repeat and keep making money. I remember the thing that I made the most money through arbitrage, get humbled at the fact that I shipped it out my door regularly. It was men's diapers.
Really? That's like a niche you wouldn't think of. How did you discover that?
Well, so once I got into software for, that helped me find arbitrage deals, it was one of the things that came up. There was enough people subscribing on Amazon for that product. There was repeat buyers. So the price really never lowered. So for probably a year, I was shipping out 60, 100, 200 diapers every month. Reasonable ROI.
That's why it's like when people ask me, what do you like to sell? I don't care what I sell as long as it's making money. Well, I'll sell men's diapers as long as it's profitable.
Yeah, exactly.
And then eventually what happens is something drastic happens that make people almost throw in the towel with arbitrage, because there's just so many things that can go wrong. And I know with you, you came to a point where you thought that you might just throw in the towel, that your Amazon account was going to be gone and that you were going to quit. So talk to us about what happened that made you almost throw in the towel when you were doing arbitrage.
Yeah, so there were 2 points where I almost quit Amazon. One was on the arbitrage side. I almost quit because I tried to grow it too fast and I got sloppy. On top of that, there were a couple things that were just outside of my control in terms of products that I thought were good buys. One of them was claimed to be, a counterfeit or whatever it might be. And it looked legitimate to me. One time there was a scenario where I didn't realize it was a 2-pack on Amazon and I put in a 1-pack. I was getting complaints. So there were a couple of just sloppy mistakes. The number of deals that I was buying on a monthly basis was just dozens and dozens, and I wanted to grow it. Just the sloppiness put my account on hold. And I just remember freaking out because I had spent all this money. Amazon wasn't paying me, and I couldn't figure out how to tell them I made a mistake.
Because they issued like that deactivation thing. Like, didn't they threaten you? Like you were at the end of your rope and you're going to be deactivated for the inauthenticity. Was it like a special moments? It wasn't a special moments, but it was one of those figurine statues.
Yeah.
I remember when we first talked, it was one of those little figurine statues and someone hit you with it.
It was the brand of the figurine, but it was a keepsake box that they sold. You start to get trusting in the software that matches products. And so you don't always know. I mean, it's not the software's fault. There are going to be times where you never know. You might be matched up with someone selling something that's inauthentic and you just got to deal with it. I just didn't like all those red flags that kept hitting my account. I was afraid that I would lose my account altogether and then I'd be stuck without any money coming back. Like that would be horrible to have $20,000 in stock. That was in an Amazon warehouse and I couldn't.
Froze.
Yeah, that would have just killed me.
I feel like that's happening more and more now with IP. There was a bundle I put together that it seemed fine. And maybe I didn't do justice researching it, but it seemed like have a lot of listings, a lot of sellers. So I thought it was safe to include in a bundle. And I got hit with an IP. So I had over 100 units at the warehouse and Amazon sent me an email and they were like, you don't have IP for this, your listing's gone. So it's getting harder and harder for arbitrage sellers to survive. So which eventually you discovered, because as we can see, you have all of your merch with you for your brand. So you did not stay an arbitrage seller. So talk to us about how you made that switch over. Like where was the click? Where was the connection that told you arbitrage is not going to survive me long term? I need to change something here.
Kind of the back and forth between arbitrage and what to do next. There were a couple of points where I made basically a decision to get into private label and start building a brand. But essentially, I ran across someone. His name is Paul Savage. He has at least he used to have a course dedicated towards helping you, get up and running with private label. I signed up for that after 6 or 9 months of arbitrage. Sounded like it was the thing to do to kind of graduate from arbitrage. Then that was taking a long time to get underway. And so then because I wasn't able to move that forward quickly, I then got back into arbitrage more heavily. And then that's where I got a prep center involved and really started ramping up my arbitrage side of things till the brand took off.
Talk to us a little bit about what your brand is exactly, because Trinide, I feel like we know what it means just because we know the sport. But talk to us about what that means, what the niche is, and how you came to choose that niche.
So when I got into private label, there were some software subscriptions that I signed up for that helped me find a product market. And as part of that course through Paul Savage, one of the homework assignments was to find 10 products that match the criteria that he had directed you to. And then we would review together, pick kind of your first product. And I found one in the space of disc golf. While I was never a big disc golfer, it was an outdoor sport. I love the outdoors, was intriguing to me, and it seemed like a fun place to start. The product that I started with was a disc golf retriever stick, which I have here. And this was the thing that found through the software, it was recommended to me. Once I decided what product and space to go down, I then picked the brand name Trinide, which is a play of words off of denied, as in basketball getting denied. And it's a phrase that disc golfers use when they throw a disc into a tree. And so one of my homework assignments was to look up phrases that disc golfers use and make sure it's not trademarked and it's not anything that I have to compete with. And sure enough, it wasn't. And so I did eventually get my brand registered on Amazon through Trinide.
I love the fact that you went all in on a brand and a sport that you had never even tried. Have you even, at that point, had you ever even seen it be played before? Did you know the concept of disc golf?
My coworker at the time, he was into disc golf and he talked about it quite regularly. I teased him in a lot of ways because I would make fun of the sport by saying that Frisbee thing that you do. And he would always correct me and say, no, it's disc golf. And he would almost seem somewhat almost offended. He had a passion for it. And I definitely understood its presence around where I live. It's actually quite popular. There's this old party store that I used to ride my bike to as a child. It shifted from this one pump gas station that was just, a place to buy candy bars to a disc golf shop. And so it's kind of just this fun local thing that happened to fit well with the niche that I went down.
Have you reached out to them to see if you could sell your products there?
I did go into the store. I have the contact information. I haven't made a deal. There's actually a couple places, local stores that sell disc golf equipment. And that's one of my to-dos in the future is to strike up some deals with local brick and mortar stores.
That's awesome. So without giving all of Paul's secrets away, I'm curious, what were some of the criteria that you had to fall in when you were searching for ideas? And did that coworker influence you to search something to do with disc golf?
Yeah, so some of the criteria was just to find something that was already selling well, that did not have a lot of competition, and that didn't have great reviews. Because if it doesn't have great reviews and it's already selling well and there's not a lot of competition, then you can go in and find a supplier and make something a little bit better or change it up in some ways, and theoretically should be able to sell just as well, if not better. There were certainly a lot of disc golf retriever sticks that just didn't have the greatest reviews because frankly, they're not very stable. They're not sturdy. They fall apart easy. So I just focused on a different area of how I wanted to improve the disc golf retriever stick. That's what I ended up picking.
So I feel like you basically already answered this question for us about how you decided on your products. So after you found the niche, then you were looking at specific products and reviews, looking for ones that had bad reviews and seeing, okay, what do the consumers not like about this and what can I improve? So is that how you went about finding the retriever stick as your first product?
Yeah, the first product was the retriever stick. And Paul's emphasis was on the brand and brand building. So obviously a lot of private label sellers will cross different brands. This just happened to be something that I felt I could build upon while I was working back and forth with the manufacturer to figure out exactly how it would be best improved. I ended up selling a towel because that was easy and it was low cost and it was kind of low risk. That ended up selling before the retriever stick did, even though the retriever stick was my first product that I kind of found my brand in.
That makes sense, because thinking like functionality wise, there's not much function you have to change to a towel, whereas there was probably a lot to the stick that made the production take longer.
Right. Yeah. And on top of that, the stick is a lot more per unit, whereas a towel, I could buy 1,000 of them and I wasn't in this huge risk of financial loss. Whereas the stick, you're spending a lot more on that, and you wanted it to go right and you want it to be launched well.
So talking about your suppliers, without giving us your specific supplier's name, how did you go about searching for suppliers? Were you eager to find some closer to you, more locally in the US, or were you trying to look overseas for a supplier?
So I found my suppliers through the traditional private label route through Alibaba. I did spend some time trying to find US based manufacturers. And to be honest with you, they just really don't work with small startup companies, or at least they didn't respond to me. I think that is something that I really want to eventually get to, where where it's big enough and I can hold some weight when I talk to US suppliers, because it would be nice to have everything sourced and bought here and made in the US. But right now I'm mainly sourcing through Alibaba, and that's worked fine outside of my initial supplier, where there was just this, it just didn't go well. The communication wasn't great. But after that, I've had great success in working with Alibaba.
I agree. Having that made in the USA logo can definitely be like an upper hand. But it makes sense to start where things are cheaper if they're giving you the quality that you expected. And it seems, looking at your bag, like you didn't open up your stick or anything, but that bag seems like it's really good quality.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they are very eager to work with you. It's a lot easier to work with them just because they want your business so much more than maybe a US company would.
That makes sense.
They're used to working with startup people through private label. And so they're working with people who are buying 200, 300, 500, 1,000 units at a time versus 10,000 or whatever it is. Yeah, I think for the most part, I found it to be good communication and good quality and willingness to really work with you to get it just right.
Awesome. So you've been really open with us, sharing like how you first got into the niche, how you came up with your name, your products, everything like that. But one huge component to making a brand last and to gain those customers is really your brand awareness, building that brand awareness. So how did you go about like launching and making people aware in the first place that Trinide exists?
Well, while I was waiting for the product to get made and designed, I just created a website and got on social media and got going with trademarking. So that just really pushed me into growing a following, even though I didn't have anything to sell. What I ended up doing was going through, I think it's a company called Printify, where you can print products on demand one at a time. So I was able to, launch a hat and a shirt through my website without having to buy a ton of stock. I don't really make any money off of it, but it gave me something to sell on a website. And then I just started following people who were into disc golf, and I got my social media presence there. I think ultimately, the sales have come through ad campaign in Amazon, but I certainly am finding that mailing list that I've created through a QR code when I ship out with my products, that's getting bigger. Followers are getting bigger. I'm finding a few passionate people who want to, work with me and growing the brand. They're excited that I would talk to them about the next product. And so that's kind of a nice way in how I'm kind of making the brand more aware to the disc golf public space.
So you're kind of building a group of people who are like affiliates, it seems. So if anybody watching is a disc golf player, reaching out to Doug and Trinide could be a good opportunity to get some free merch, some free products just for promoting his brand. And you do have Instagram. I know that. What is your handle on Instagram?
My handle is Trinide Disc Sports. I'm on TikTok and Facebook, although the focus has really been on Instagram. And then our website is trinidediscsports.com. Yeah, so I'm very excited to work with anyone who's passionate about disc golf, who wants to try out some products. I'm happy to send it to them, and they can help grow our brand. And then I did start a recent program on Amazon, an affiliate program where I can track sales that come in through our brand. And so I'm currently offering sharing 50% on all the profit for people who want to grow our brand through selling a specialized link that I give them for our products.
That's great. That's a good way to build your brand awareness. So talk to us a second for your listings. Do you do your listings on your own? How do you find your keywords, your photographs, your videos? What are you doing to make sure that your listings are optimized and putting them together?
Yeah, so I started rather basic in that I didn't start with A+ content. I really just got a good set of images. That was something that Paul Savage emphasized, good photography. I found that mainly through Fiverr. I find really low cost listing creators who can take a set of photos that I take and they turn them into quality work. I think for the disc golf retriever stick, I really wanted it to be even a higher level of quality. And Paul had referred me to someone who I actually sent my product to, and he took really high quality products. It was a little bit more money, but I think it was well worth it. He basically took it on site and used it. Obviously, if you're asking someone to use your product in their listing creation, they obviously are going to charge a little bit more. And then I just, through that university program, I learned how to optimize. And it's been one of these things where I've been learning as I go, and I kind of fine tune. You can launch it and you can edit it later. It's not like you have to stop with the launch. And so I continue to find ways to optimize it. And then I did eventually add A+ content. And then I did eventually get videos created. So that's been an exciting way to make the product even better.
So let's shift gears for a second and talk about sales. Now, most of the time when you're building a brand and it's a baby brand, those first couple years of trying to build your brand, build your products, build your awareness, most of the times you're in the negative. So talk to us about how are your sales going? And after doing this for a while now, are you in the green?
So I started selling on Amazon on arbitrage in 2021. My brand was established in late 2022. I started selling my first official Tree-Nide product in March of 2023. And while I was fine-tuning the retriever stick, I ended up selling a towel that started selling reasonably well. I've never been anything but positive profit with that. I get close to 300% ROI with the towel since I've launched it. Eventually, the disc golf retriever stick came along. That took a little bit more of an investment in ad campaigns. Really, I wanted that to be kind of my premium product that I was selling. So I really put a lot of money into getting it a lot of sales, even though my profit was really low to begin with. And so sales are growing really well in October, November, December. Things just went so well that I decided to double down in 2024. And I have a lot of new products that I'm adding to our inventory, and I'm really excited for those to come in.
I feel like that's really kind of almost lucky that you found such a low-hanging fruit with that towel, that it didn't cost you much to invest in initially, and it didn't eat all of your profits with your PPC and any campaigns or managers. So basically, you've always been in the green because you started with a product that cost you so little to manufacture.
Yeah, between the two products, I've always been in the greens. I was fortunate to quickly find a product that I didn't have to spend time researching. I didn't have to spend a lot of money on, and it was low risk. So that was great.
So it seems like everything's going really successfully for you. What are your next steps to build Tree-Nide in this new year?
Right now, I have about 5 to 6 products that I have purchased and are being made. So the goal is to just sell more stuff under the Tree-Nide name besides just print-on-demand products. So I have this bag behind me. That's a sample that was created. I have some starter disc golf bags. I have a chalk bag behind me. I also have a fiber-based premium disc golf retriever stick that's being manufactured, a starter set. So I have lots of things. I think the biggest thing that I haven't really finished yet, but I want to do, is sell actual disc. It's an area that I've avoided up to this point because the space is so saturated with people selling disc. But I kind of feel like in order to be a legitimate disc golf brand, you have to sell disc. So even if I don't make a lot of money in it, I just want to have that to sell. And so that's probably my bigger goal to eventually complete before the end of the year, is to start selling disc golf.
That kind of makes sense, right? Like, to be a disc golf brand, you've got to have those discs.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be here. I know you're a busy guy. You have hobbies, you have a 9 to 5, you have your brand that you're building. So this last question for you is kind of a two-parter. First off, what has been the most challenging part for you personally with building this new brand? And second, do you recommend for people to try to do what you did and to go all out and to build a new brand on Amazon?
So probably the most challenging part with the brand building is being patient, because unlike Amazon arbitrage, you can find the product and turn around and get it into an Amazon warehouse immediately. The brand building, you aren't going to get money coming in right away. You need to do the work to get the product. Fortunately, there are tools and software out there that kind of help you get going. It is hard to be patient, and I even reached out to you at one point just to make sure that I was on the right path, and you assured me that I was. And it was just something that just took a lot of time. And unfortunately, I think part of that was I started with I think I mentioned earlier, not the best supplier to work with from a communication standpoint. So that really put me behind the normal startup time. If I were to recommend anyone getting into Amazon for the first time, I would have them start with arbitrage. I think it's the easiest part to get started. So I would either then suggest from there that they, find good alternatives within the arbitrage space, whether it's, bundles or wholesale or whatever it is. That might be the better long-term thing if you really like doing that model. If I knew everything that I know now when I started back then, I would start with the brand. But obviously, I got to start somewhere. And so that's what I would recommend to people. It's just the easiest way to learn the Amazon ropes, and you can make mistakes a little more forgivingly if got a product here or there that you lose $5 or $10 or $20 versus something big that you're really investing in.
And I feel like you're like the true example of tenacity and not to give up, because so many hurdles have come your way with both of the different models, and you've just never given up. You've never thrown in the towel. And I think that's where a lot of sellers fall short, is their first hurdle will get into the way and they're like, I'm done with this. It's too hard. And you've never done that. You've always figured out a way to get past it and to keep building. I think that has a lot to do with how successful your brand is going, because you are that kind of tenacious person that you're not going to let it get in your way.
Yeah, thank you very much for saying that. I just certainly being patient hasn't been easiest, but pushing through and not wanting to throw all this money away. You invest a lot of time and money and you want to see it come to fruition. So that's a really good motivator.
Well, I wish you and Trinide all of prosperous growth in the future.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. I really feel as though when I was at a point where I didn't know, if I was going down the right path, I really appreciated your coaching that you offered. And I feel like a lot of people are in a place where they just don't know what next step to take, or are looking for someone who has done it. And so I certainly appreciate your help along the way. And I'm just excited to keep this going. And I would just encourage people to not give up and keep looking for people who can help you if you're not sure what to do.
Thanks so much for hanging out with Doug and I today. He is just a mastermind of thinking of that niche to go with and really sharing all of that valuable information with us. Some key points are to make sure that you're going for something that customers want, not necessarily what your heart wants. Because as you learned, this niche that he chose, he was really new to it. He had never even tried the sport himself, but he noticed that there was a demand for it and not a lot of competition. Those are the perfect spots to jump in. Also be sure to follow Doug on Instagram. I will drop that down below, his personal profile as well as his Trinide profile, to see exactly what he's doing and how he's growing this year. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next one.